fellow Singaporeans and residents. We will therefore extend the circuit breaker for 4 more weeks until the 1st of June.
If he announced it, right, like, I didn't react very well. So, like, my family group chat, right, I was like literally like caps lock, like, what the fuck? Immediately I get calls from my parents saying like, hey Mark, are you doing okay? Hi, my name is Mark and I'm the founder of Rice Media. This is the first in a series of vlogs where we will discuss the relevant and not so relevant issues of the day. The things that made us pause and think and also might have pissed us off. For today's first episode, we are going to be talking about the extension of the circuit breaker, right? And like, how this has kind of like really changed the way we behave at home and has also impacted our mental well-being. So with me today, I have Vinita and Nate from Rice, who will be joining our discussion. Let's start with something very simple, all right? What was like the thought that crossed your mind after you heard that like the circuit breaker was going to be extended?
At that juncture already, I was mentally prepared for this thing to drag on till about June and even July. And that's simply because every other country that you see dealing with the pandemic at this juncture, that's how it played out. There was a kind of a more lax approach. People were quite casual, complacent. Cases exploded. Then there had to be a much more heavy-handed approach. It's just that the way that they're rolling it out, they're giving you the impression it isn't going to happen. But it has.
I think I chose to be ignorant and naive. I was like, what's he gonna say? And then when he said the words hunker down, I was like, leo. I'm like, here it comes, man.
For a good chunk of people, right, things aren't as peaceful. So like not being able to drink bubble tea, for example, right? Now that they've taken that away, what is going to be the next outlet?
I'm half joking when I say this, but I have no idea what my next outlet is going to be. It was bubble tea, and for a second I thought about getting a dog, but I don't know. I don't know what the next outlet is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, we're all trying to find ways to get back control, right? And I kind of agree with the whole neurotic. That it can all feel a bit neurotic, but I think that beyond like these things, right? I think that there's also an impact on things like relationships, for example. I don't know if this is too personal, right, Nate? But then we were talking about a couple of days ago, because you're in a long distance relationship, right? So like I'm sure that also would have made things like, you're not the only one. I think that you can speak for like a lot of other couples, right, in Singapore who are not married. In your case, your fiancé is not even in Singapore.
It's rough. So it's about 5 weeks now since I've seen her, and this is the longest we've not seen each other since I've known her, which is close to 10 years now. I don't know how the rest, I don't know how other couples are coping, but for us, it's just, at this point, we're just grateful for the fact that we even, we can communicate through Skype, through WhatsApp, through like a bunch of different technology.
Just gonna put pressure, but if let's say you just go in ROM right now, then she can stay with you.
Yo, we talked about it. It might be happening a lot sooner than we all think. We talked about it. It's there. The option is there.
And I'm sure, Vinita, like on your end as well, Vinita, your daughter's at home 24/7. Home-based learning has kind of changed things at home as well.
Yeah, I was drawing Princess Celestia of the My Little Pony series, and I go to bed thinking like, I'm gonna cut out sea creatures and fish, and if I can accomplish this and satisfy my daughter through that hour-long interaction, then wow, like that's the high point of the day. That's the reality. We're all locked in our apartments, and those of us with kids, this is real.
Yeah, it remains to be seen how this period, right, would impact kids a couple of years down the road, like how it would impact their development. At least for me and Nate, I'm like, we're worrying about like fucking bubble tea and like these issues are really small compared to people who actually have to be responsible for someone else, right? But I think that the more pertinent question here is that, do you think that the extension is necessary? Like from a policy point of view? I
think all these measures that they put in terms of fines and the fact that they're taking a much more heavy-handed legal approach to it, I don't like it. I think it's had a lot of other kinds of negative effects in terms of how people are behaving, and that's a different thing that we can talk about. But I can see why they need to corral the Singapore, population to get a handle on community transmission, lock you all in, put you in a pen, keep you quiet, so that we can go deal with the crisis that's happening next door, right?
Yeah.
So it would be a complete nightmare for them while they're dealing with what's happening in the dorms, to also have people lining up for bubble tea and doing whatever fucking shit they need to do because they can't handle the lockdown. And then voila, another cluster pops up 2 days later. I don't think they'd be able to cope. So do I like it? No, but I completely understand. It's the thing to do right now because they messed up with the migrant worker situation.
Just building on from like what you guys are talking about, right? Because for me, right, on one hand, separating like the numbers in the dorms and separating the numbers outside the dorms, right, makes sense in terms of the narrative, like that we want to spin, right? That this is like a cruise ship, the cruise ship situation in Japan, right? Like a ton of people like getting infected, but it's contained, right? Local transmission is a lot lower, right? But to me, I find it like, while that makes sense from a PR point of view, I think very practically on the ground, right? Like you are telling people to take it seriously on one hand to stay home, but on the other hand, right, this narrative is also sending the message, right, that hey, it's not that bad. So like for people who are kind of like stuck in this circuit breaker at home and not feeling very good, right, they're not going to take this very seriously because they're gonna look at it and say, hey, right, local transmission isn't a lot, right, and I can probably risk going out because like everything's in the dorms anyway. So I mean, from my point of view, right, they should, I mean, like putting aside the whole like ideological reasons that hey, everyone should be treated equally, right? I think that they should just scare the shit out of everybody, right? And then say that like, what? It's just 2,000 cases a day, right? Everyone stay the fuck home, right? For me, right, I think that the idea that hey guys, let's not panic, right? But at the same time, you use fines to kind of coerce people, right? I think it's resulting in the wrong behavior. I think, when people have to act out of self-preservation, right? That's a more powerful like carrot. That's a more powerful stick.
The big issue I feel that the government really hasn't addressed as there's been these enhancements to the circuit breaker is you've got to understand whether it's the preschool teacher, the primary school teacher, it's the parents who are working, even the stay-at-home moms, whatever your occupation and your situation, expecting people to perform, to be productive to the same level and degree they were before all of this happened, it's just manifestly unfair. And so for me, something somewhere is going to crack. So I think that's one thing that the government really needs to take into account is you've got to loosen the valve a little bit here on your expectations. Doesn't matter if it's a 3-year-old or it's an 80-year-old or it's working adults at the peak of their career, we all need to be able to reduce our expectations. That's how I feel. And my biggest concern right now, honestly, is if we're still going to be expected to perform, to keep up appearances and not let on that this is a strain, then somewhere there's going to be a crack, right? And I think it's before that happens, it's better just to say, and it's this thing about being human, just to say, I don't think I can cope. No, I'm sorry, but it's not a good day for me. I'm not sleeping well. I'm not eating that great. I don't even want to see anybody for the rest of the day on a Zoom call. I'm exhausted. I need to nap for 2 hours. This is me taking care of myself, and the world is not going to end if I don't get that thing done today.
Yeah, so we're going to leave you with this. Everybody kind of reacts to the circuit breaker extension and the circuit breaker differently, right? Some better than others, obviously. We would like to know how you've been dealing with it. Do you think you've been, coping with it well, or has it been a complete mess? Let us know in the comments.